Patrick says, hello, Dutch and James. I'm a huge Undertaker fan. However, I have never really cared too much for the American Badass biker Undertaker gimmick that you mentioned, in fact, on Friday. Undertaker himself said that he felt he needed to make a change back in 1999 because the Deadman was getting stale. How would Dutch have booked The Undertaker between 2000 and 2003? How do you evolve The Undertaker to keep him fresh at that point in time? I'm asking this because I know Dutch wasn't a big fan of Biker Taker either. Thank you. Love you. Love you. There you go.
Well, when I first saw that gimmick, it was too much of a change, too much of a shock for them. And they were always comparing, or I was always comparing to the biker gimmick. What was his name? Bad Outlaw. What was his name?
Who were we talking
about? Mark Calloway, the Undertaker. What when he rode the bike out? What was he? American Badass.
Yeah, he's just the American Badass. Yeah, with the Kid
and
Rock
it was
song.
kind of, oh, it's like you took away the dong. You took away his entrance, which is the first thing they did. They tried to cover it up with the Undertaker taking all his Undertaker gear off and going down to the ring and like handling a motorcycle. It didn't fit. It felt like a letdown. And it was a letdown. The fans, he kept it a couple of years, but it still, that gimmick never resonated at all till he went back to being the Undertaker. They wanted to see him as the Undertaker. It's almost like you have a little kid and they got a pacifier, but instead of giving him a pacifier, you give him a broomstick or something. They don't like that. So until they went back and put Undertaker back under the hat and the long black robe and the looks and the gloves, he was just wandering around in no man's land. So, yeah, the Undertaker was getting old, but that's what you have creative for. They just didn't have anything for him. But before I would have let him go out there and kind of, I think he embarrassed himself. It didn't mean to. And Vince didn't mean to. But as a fan, I'm going to talk as a fan now. As a fan, I never was a fan of the biker gimmick at all. And he loves motorbikes. He loves motorcycles. He loves them to death. I used to go over to his house when he would base out of Nashville. He would have 2 or 3 motorcycles there. And these are not cheap motorcycles. These motorcycles, like back then, 50 grand, 40 grand. I mean, that was a lot of money to pay for a bike. And he loved bikes. So, but anyway, I think he didn't really hurt the character. He just didn't help it. And how did he go back being the Undertaker? He just showed up?
He, in late 2003, was feuding with Kane. Or, now, right, okay. There may have been a match between The Undertaker and Vince McMahon, and then Kane comes back to help Vince McMahon win in like a buried alive kind of thing. And then they start playing vignettes for about 5 months and, doing the effects and the lights going out and the ring moving and that kind of thing. So, Kane, I am coming back.
Yeah.
Rest in peace, that kind of thing. And then he shows back up at WrestleMania 20 in the sort of hybrid Undertaker. So he's like the original Undertaker, tiny bit of the American biker thing in it, but it's sort of like an amalgamation of everything. And then Paul Bearer returns with him briefly as well.
Well, that's a much better introductory comeback. I didn't see that. I was doing something else. But at least I never believed in disappointing fans. I think the American Badass disappointed them. I don't think nobody bought a ticket to see American Badass, but they would buy a ticket to see Undertaker because his whole entrance is a spectacle. Sometimes it took him between 5 and 10 minutes to even get in the ring. And the music is playing, and that was part of his deal. And the people, when they didn't get to see that, they were disappointed, I think. And the way you told me they brought him back was a good way.
Yeah, they made it a bit more supernatural again. They reintroduced the Kane feud and Paul Bearer and everything. I would like to, for what it's worth, add what I think, because I was 15, 14
Yep.
when he came back. So sort of like peak WWF fan age. I thought the first year or so when he came back as American Badass, I was fine with it. There's some point in maybe 2002 he cuts his hair. And then it just changed the whole... It didn't look like Undertaker anymore. It looked like Business Taker. It didn't have the same impact. And then he sort of rode that out for another 18 months. And then, like, at one point, I think Jim Ross tried to start calling him Booger Red. And then they started giving him bad nicknames. I don't even know what it means.
Booger
Red. I don't know.
That didn't catch on.
No, it didn't. And that's when Taker really was stale.
You were disappointed in the evolution of the Undertaker.
Yeah, the original American Badass thing I thought was fine. What I was really disappointed in as a fan was the previous incarnation of the Undertaker was the corporate ministry and the Ministry of Darkness. And then, the character of the Undertaker is most outlandish. He's putting people on the symbol, which is actually a cross. But, it's the Undertaker symbol. And just taking people's souls and having a gang of dark ne'er-do-wells with him. That was great. Then Vince Russo and Ed Ferrara, they rushed through about 40 years worth of storylines in 2 seconds. And then they ruined that when Vince McMahon was then revealed to be the higher power, which was stupid because it made no sense. And then shortly afterwards, The Undertaker then ends up teaming with The Big Show. And then that tag team had no cachet, no one was interested in seeing those two as a tag team. And then The Undertaker got injured, and then he took about 8 months off. Then he turned out to be the American, I am an American Badass. And then the song came out, and Are You Scared? He's Here. I quite liked it for the first year, and then it grew stale a bit too quickly.
Oh, yeah. I think it grew stale right when he came out with it. I mean, but I'm not a regular fan. I cannot judge the other fans' reaction to when he changed his gimmick, but I can judge mine. And I saw it right off the bat. I said, this looks like crap. I didn't like it. And they changed him, which means he wanted to change, or they needed his gate ability to sell some tickets. Badass, I don't think sold any.
Hey, they had The Rock and Steve Austin on the roster. They didn't need no one else at that time. But anyway, we will move on.
But even using Undertaker doing The Rock and the Stone Cold Steve Austin era, you actually would lose the benefit of having Undertaker at full strength. Mm-hmm. I mean, he would be underneath those guys, but he's got to see. These are legendary characters. They didn't know that at the time. But I told Steve Austin one time, listen, I give him his name. I didn't give him Stone Cold. I named him Steve Austin. But I could see that this guy had something. And it's a lot like I see when I see that kid, what is it, Knight, L.A. Knight, because he puts off some Steve Austin vibes and a little bit of the Rock's vibes. So... And that's what Kevin Nash was calling him, right? He's a cop out for The Rock and Stone Cold. So, but I don't care what he puts out. I just like to know what I feel about him, because I don't think anybody else's opinion matters. If I'm buying a ticket, they're not buying a ticket. I'm buying the ticket. So, and they found out that they had a little bit of merchandise selling that they were getting out of him, and so he worked his way into a good spot. And great talker too.